Welcome to the Fit Guys podcast. My name is Bradley Thompson and I'm joined by
Ryan Dutton.
Ryan, today we're going to talk about how to make snacking a friend rather than a foe. So the goal of today is to really run through a few tactics, maybe potential problems. So Ryan, what's your experience with snacking, both yourself and maybe with clients as well?
Let's not beat around the bush. Like, snacking is something that we all do. It's you're probably rarer to find someone that doesn't enjoy snacking in between meals. But let's not, let's be honest. Snacking itself isn't the issue. It's either the amount of snacks or the type of snacks you have that's the real issue, isn't it? It's the quantity or the quality of those snacks that really is the pitfall when it comes to snacking. And for me, there's three main approaches. Number one, this is definitely not my preferred approach, but you can cut out all snacking altogether. I think that is definitely something that has worked in the past for certain clients, but it's not very good for longevity because at some point those snacks are going to come back in. Number two, you can have like low calorie alternatives. They're never going to be as good as the real thing, but I think it's a better option long term because you're not cutting out completely. Yeah. And the third one is you still have all the naughty snacks that you like. You just work it into your calories and macros. Flexible dieting, shall we say. That for me is the three approaches. Number two is definitely my preferred approach. It means that you can have maybe some healthier snacks, things that are going to push you in the right direction, not break the calorie bank. But I think that generally, if you can, for whatever reason, get away in your day or your week, incorporating some of the naughtier snacks in there, that I think is a fantastic way of doing it as well.
I feel like I'm definitely the third option.
Oh yeah, okay.
I really like I don't know, when I compare the two, I'm like, I'd much rather not be more frequent and almost have like a bit more of an indulgent period, should we say. So I think that's good. That's going to be interesting to bounce off of each other when it comes to preference.
I've had some clients come to me in the first conversation, they'll say, Ryan, I'm addicted to chocolate and I'm going to eat it every day. And I'm like, okay, that's a nice opening comment there. Yeah. I like how you've laid all your cards on the table. But it gives us a framework to build from. It goes, okay, we can work with that. And I've had a lot of clients over the years who have had mild chocolate addictions. I don't want to be sexist, but probably women more than men who have these kind of urges for sugar. And I do think that it's possible to incorporate chocolate every day. We just have to make sure that it's lower calorie chocolate, like Freddos and small chocolate bars as opposed to your family size ones. And we are working it into the daily calorie and macro consumption. We have to also appreciate that when you incorporate those poorer quality foods, it may slow results down. It may take away from other macronutrients, things like good proteins and good carbs and good quality of food, but it's definitely a viable option for sure.
My wife, to shout her out, she's got fantastic self-control with these things. She could quite happily eat half a Kit Kat, and I think I'd struggle personally to do that. I'm like, if I'm going to have it, it's a full amount, here we go, that's my preference. But to have like half and show that level of self-control, linking it to the goals, and just that fullness cueing as well, like spotting maybe why they're having the snack in the first place.
I've no idea how your missus does that. No idea.
I've no idea.
So open a Kit Kat and only have like one or two of the fingers. Yeah, is phenomenal.
Discipline, by the way. Back up, put it back in the drawer.
Wow.
Come back to it.
Yeah, I've got a level of respect for it now.
It's amazing.
Honestly,
that's amazing.
Zen stuff right there.
Yeah. Which not for me personally, but like I said, everybody's different preferences.
Absolutely. One
thing that personally I try to get across to clients is a framework called HALT. Have you come across this before?
No.
So HALT's quite a good anagram to sort of say, well, stop, like before you eat a snack, just stop and have a think. And it's almost like a little check-in, so are you hungry, anxious, lonely or tired? Okay. If you can check in with those four, which one are you? Because you're guaranteed to be almost one of four of those, if not multiple. And then it's hunger as well, like are you actually hungry? Like, are you just dehydrated? Like, is there something you can do to like plug the gap a little bit? But I really like that as a framework, like HALT.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like that as well. I think again, it's just strategy. It's a great way of helping clients understand the process of why they're feeling like they want to snack. And it's similar same way I get clients coming to me and saying, I'm not going to give up chocolate or this very specific snack. Sometimes it works the same with like Coke and Pepsi and fizzy drinks. People will say, I have a Pepsi Max every day, which isn't too bad. It's 0 calories, 0 sugar. Same with like Coke Zeros and things like that. But usually what we find is they're not actually craving those things. They're just thirsty. And so as soon as we start introducing water into the mix, it's amazing how much less they want to opt for those fizzy drinks. They just associate in their mind thirst, Diet Coke, thirst, Coke Zero. And it's this pattern of thinking that you need to get out of. And I think the water can also help with the snacking. If you feel like you're really hungry, sometimes it could be thirst, it could be something else. It could be, I think just drinking a glass of water, as simple as it sounds, can sometimes be a bit of a plug there, like you said.
Yeah. I think you definitely heard of the phrase like mindless eating. Snacks, from experience of working with clients, snacks are the ones where people can maybe mindless eat a little bit more. They're always doing something else whilst they're snacking. So I think maybe having that self-awareness and having that, like when you're eating, what do you call it, like hunger cueing or appetite awareness, by having that in particular, that awareness of, well, how do I feel when I eat this? Or just saying, I'm going to have a snack, but I'm not going to do any work while I eat it. I'm going to try and spot and try and be like my wife, Can I just have, I only want half actually, it's just to fill a hole really.
Just a little bit of something. Yeah. Which is why I think the low calorie snacks generally tend to work quite well for me personally. I tend to opt for those. Like, so chocolate, I'm not a big chocolate fan anyway, I'll be honest with you, mate. It's not a big thing in my day and week. I'm much more of a savoury person. Give me a pork pie over a chocolate bar any day of the week. And that's definitely no better on calories, I'll tell you now. But I do think that it's kind of like, where do you want to go with your snacking? Do you want to kind of have the full shebang, the full fat, the full sugar, and maybe just have half like your missus does? Or do you want to have the full thing, but have it at a slightly lower calorie? And because I haven't got that discipline to be like, right, I'm going to have one finger. I would much rather have like a, you ever seen these like Fibre One bars? You can get that at like 90 calories. I'll just have one of those, and I can have the full thing. Don't have to worry about kind of break it in half. I might have like a protein yogurt or something like that. Some of them now are only like 80, 90 calories, which is fantastic. And again, it's just something in between meals that gives me a little bit of a boost for the day, but it's not breaking my calorie bank. Bear in mind, I think it's worth, full disclosure, I'm on a lot of calories. I'm on anywhere from 3 to 3,500 calories most days. So I can get away with a lot, but I also have a great appetite. Like I can eat, I have a big breakfast, I have 4 big meals a day, and then in between those meals I have like certain little snacks. Just reading off the top of my head, I mentioned a few of the ones: Fibre One bars, protein yogurts, Nature Valley bars. I also have fruit. Fruit's a big thing for me. I really like bananas and apples, and got into kiwis recently. I'll tell you a funny story. I ate too many kiwis a few months ago and I actually burned my mouth.
Really?
The acid. I had about 5 kiwis. I couldn't stop myself. This is really bad self-control. I actually had 5 kiwis in a row, and my tongue was sore the day after from all the acid in my mouth.
I didn't expect that reaction. I thought you were going to tell me something worse, but I'm glad it was mouth and not. I
don't even want to know, Brad, where your mind
went there straight away.
Let's end that conversation.
Yeah. But no, like, I really like the swap out approach. I think for me, I quite like prep snack delayed gratification, where it's probably a skill that a lot of people lack, which if they can delay and sort of think, right, well, once I've done this, I almost feel like I can have that now, if that makes sense. And it's a good life skill as well, because a lot of, I suppose, today's society is very like instant gratification.
Absolutely.
Dopamine hits everywhere. So I think to practice that delayed gratification, that's always different personality types that would suit my personality. Whereas I know there's a lot of clients who you work with, and I've worked with previously, the second option that you mentioned, the low calorie swap outs, would be much better for them.
Yeah. And there's no one size fits all approach with this. Some clients I've got who, they do just say, give me a nutritional plan and I'm going to follow it to a T. I don't want the idea of anything. If you give me any kind of snacks, I'm going to run away with that. If you give me a Fibre One bar, I will eat the box. I'm not just going to eat one of those. And they don't want anything in the house. Now, I take that approach to a certain degree where my missus she's got such a sweet tooth. She has snacks and sweet. I'll go into her car sometimes and I'll be sweet wrappers everywhere, down the side panel, in a drinks holder.
Yeah.
So there's always something. But we had to have a conversation a while back where I was like, you can't keep having them around the house. For me, it's a bit of a temptation. I don't like having those things around. Out of sight, out of mind for me. But some clients are the extreme where they can't even have the lower calorie snacks around. They have to have completely have it gone. They can't have anything. They just want the set meals, and that's how they'll start their program. And I'm happy to entertain the idea of that, but again, it's not a long-term thinking approach because at some point there's going to be some snacks, and they have to be introduced in the right way.
It's having that self-awareness, like what you said. If you are aware of what your preferences are, one of the potential solutions I want to talk about today were creating friction and decreasing friction. So literally increasing friction, making it harder to get to. So can you put it in a cupboard that's high up? Okay, something that's difficult to get to, or more difficult to get to, rather than just in a drawer where you just open it, it's like, oh, it's there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can have snacks that are maybe, quote unquote healthier for you, the fruit, the slow release fibre and slow release carbs and that sort of stuff, you can have that actually available easily. Yeah. That friction to actually get to it's really low.
Definitely.
Whereas for most people it's the other way around. The hard snacks are hard. They're like that. The bad snacks are easy to get to.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're the ones that when you're feeling particularly stressed, your body really craves. I'm one of those people where, like I've mentioned pork pies, for example. Like if I've got a pack of mini pork pies downstairs, right, and I know they're in the fridge, I'm just looking for an excuse at any point in the day to go and grab one of those. So again, I just can't have them lying around the house. I know they're going to be detrimental to me. I allow myself moments in my week, in my month, to have little kind of pork pies. I do love a pork pie that much that at least once a month I'll treat myself to a little pork pie. I do like a little caramelised onion on top. Oh, beautiful.
Lovely.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Oh, I'm hungry now.
Exactly. My stomach just started rumbling.
As you said,
it is getting to lunchtime. But if I know it's there in the fridge, I'm looking for any reason to have it. So it's just best that I don't have it around day to day. I'm creating that barrier in my mind. I've got to go out and get it. And that's how I generally avoid it. But you're right, if you can put it in a higher shelf, if you can store it away somewhere, rather than just having a very easy drawer you can pull out, it's just a small barrier you can create to snacking.
And even just the choice of snacks as well. Like that's a really interesting thing where if you are gearing towards like higher protein snacks, we both know that protein is really like satiating. It does make you feel quite full. And that's a really big plus point for people to do. Another thing that personally I try and encourage people to do is just have those accessible. Like I said, just have them. If you don't buy them, you're probably not going to consume them.
Yeah, so, exactly. I think it's also important that we touch on the psychology around snacking, because why do we snack? Why? Most of the time it's an emotional thing, it's a stress thing. And in that moment, it's very, very difficult to reason with your own inhibitions and your desire to want that food.
For me, it's numerous factors, but I've just typed a word now called hedonic. If you come across this word before.
I've heard of it actually. What's hedonic?
So hedonism is doing things for pleasure.
Right.
And that's the sole drive. So when it comes to hunger in particular, you've got hedonic hunger, which is your pleasure seeking, or you've got something called homeostatic hunger, which I'm going a little bit sciencey now, but homeostatic hunger is like you're starving, like you're physically starving, you need some food. So the baseline homeostasis levels of your body are disrupted. So you need food, you physically need food. Most people in the snack, it's rarely the second one. It's always the hedonic, like I fancy that because I know it's going to feel good and taste good.
It's your typical, I'm starving, I need a snack.
Yeah.
Our terminology and understanding of starving, I think, is very misconceived.
Yeah. Have you ever done fasting or anything like that? Have you ever experienced those sort of feelings of, I'm really hungry now, like actually hungry?
Without a shadow of a doubt. When I've done some of my more serious cuts for holidays and things of that nature, I've experienced levels of hunger where your body is going into meltdown, basically. And it's never nice to go to those levels, but I also find them very testing and a great sense of character. You really realise what you're made of when you're fighting every single urge in the body to eat. But I also like that level of control that I have. I definitely like being in control of things in my life, wouldn't say I'm a control freak by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that when you're in complete control and you've got total power over your emotions and your feelings and your urges, it's amazingly powerful and just amazing place to be. I really think that it's something that I like doing, but it's hard when you're not dieting to have that sense of, right, I'm not going to snack, I'm not going to have that extra little bit of this, or I'm going to restrict a little bit here. Which is why for me personally, I find that tracking my food most days really helps, because if I'm going to snack, I'm going to have to appreciate that I've got to take the food from somewhere else. If I'm going to overeat and over snack here, right, I'm going to have a smaller lunch, I'm going to have a smaller evening meal, something somewhere is going to have to be sacrificed. Whereas if you're not kind of in line with your calories and your numbers for the day, generally you'll snack a little bit too much without making any adjustments in any of the meals, and that's where progress tends to come to a bit of a halt.
I think that one of my key sort of insights into tracking is you figure out your own preferences. So do you feel better on like higher carbs? Do you feel better on higher fats? Me personally, I'm very similar to you, touching on what you said about higher calories. I'm the same. I can get away with a lot of calories, and I really like fats in particular. Like I would probably gravitate more towards like fatty foods, interesting in a way. So me knowing my preferences, I will gear a lot of my snacks maybe around a combination of carbs and fats rather than just something super savoury.
Yeah.
I really like a combination of carbs and fats. So just having that understanding by yourself,
But not everyone's that same kind of thinking, or can actually progress doing that. I mean, probably a topic for another podcast. I'm probably getting away from snacking a little bit here, but recently I had a client who was hitting all his targets with his food. He wasn't going over. He maybe had some poorer quality foods a weekend, but he was generally in the same ballpark. Super active, doing all his walks every day, training phenomenally well, but wasn't losing weight, and we couldn't quite suss it out. He was on quite low calories. He was feeling hungry on the calories he was on.
Yeah.
All we did was we basically took out some of his triggering foods. So we took out a lot of breads. We actually reduced his carb content down. And what we also stopped doing was we stopped combining energy sources. And by that, I mean we stopped combining carbs and fats in the same meal. Every single meal, we basically said to him, what is your main energy source here? Protein is not energy. Protein is your building molecule. Is it going to be fats with this meal, or is it going to be carbs? And we started separating the two out. And it's amazing. Literally this past week, he dropped 2% body fat in 1 week, just because of that very small change that we've made. So that's maybe something that you want to think about when it comes to snacking as well. Like macronutrients at certain times of the day, we call it macronutrient timing. That can be very important when it comes to weight loss and fat loss. So you may want to factor that in when it comes to snacking, like choosing certain snacks for different periods of the day. Like for me, for example, if it's in the morning, I've always got a bag of nuts in the cupboard, and that'll be something in the morning I generally tend to go for. I tend to, and they call it carb backloading nowadays. I generally do a lot of carb backloading, so my fats will come in my lunchtime and evening meal. My breakfast is very high fat, so it's eggs, it's smoked salmon, it's nuts, avocados, those kind of foods. And then I'll leave the carbs till later on. So if it's in the morning, my snacks generally tend to be nuts. Later in the day, it's your protein nuggets, it's your Nature Valley bars, it's oat bars, nut bars in the morning, oat bars in the evening. So that's generally how I tend to do it.
And that's testament again to how much self-awareness that you've got personally in what we promote with our clients in terms of having that awareness of, well, listen, how do you feel after you do have like a high carb breakfast? Or like for me personally, if I'm doing a big talk or if I'm doing a presentation or anything, I know that if I have too many carbs, I'm probably not my sharpest. Which that's just something I've noticed about myself. So it's a case of, I will have some nuts before I speak and that sort of stuff. That's quite a nice way of just linking its performance as well.
I've definitely heard that before. I've never experienced that massively myself. Not from a cognitive point of view anyway. Probably more from a performance point of view, where I have maybe overdone it on like an oat shake or something and gone into the gym. It felt quite sluggish. But coming full circle back to kind of snacks, I do think again, snacks are food, snacks are fuel. You've got to be asking why you're having these things. And, coming again back to the emotional side of it, do you really need the snack? Is it something that you genuinely need? Are you able in that moment to have that level of self-control where you're like, no, actually, I have seen an issue here. I am stressed. I've just jumped off that call with that kind of person from work and they've really stressed me out. Now I'm really craving some chocolate. I don't actually want the chocolate. I just want a little bit of something to make me feel better.
Yeah.
And it's having that level of self-discipline to know when you are actually hungry. What did you call it? Was
Hedonism.
Hedonism.
Yeah.
Or when it's the opposite and when you actually are starving. And if you've had a big enough breakfast and you've had a big enough lunch, chances are you're not really hungry, you're just stressed, tired, and it's about knowing those things in your thoughts and feelings.
It's a habit as well. Like how many times have we just like I'll do it at my mum's house. I'll walk in and I'll open the fridge. Just it's like muscle memory. It's weird. It's really strange. And for some reason I just do it. And
So you still do that when you go to your mum's house?
Still do it.
Does your mum still live in the house where you grew up as a kid?
Yeah.
I think that's probably the big thing.
Yeah.
Because I never do that when I go to my mum's. Because my first thought is never snacks.
Oh, mine is.
Is it? Really?
Yeah. Which is it's the trigger, I think. It's the relationship behind it. So I know when I go to my mum's house, I had a lot of snacks here. And like subconsciously, I don't even think about it.
I guarantee it's because of like those memories from a child and from a kid.
Yeah.
Interested. I've never had that. My mum's moved house a couple of times though since I was a kid, so she's usually the one bringing up the crisps to me, and I'm like, I'll have a few.
Why not?
Yeah, but actually, crisps is a big thing for a lot of people. For a consultation with a girl yesterday, and she was like, I have crisps because they're so easy. Again, it's more of a savoury than a sweet snack.
Yeah,
but they are super fast, super easy to have.
What we call hyperpalatable, which I'm just typing now because I don't want to get that wrong.
Hyperpalatable,
which is the perfect combination between carbs and fats, which donuts, they're one in particular, they are such a perfect, like, heavenly combination.
Actually, a Homer Simpson moment.
Yeah. And crisps sort of come under that category as well, like the fat content.
The sugars and the salts in there as well. Like, probably not sugars with crisps, but the salts really just whet your appetite, don't they?
Teddy really likes tortilla chips at the minute, and I have to be really careful because just out of curiosity, I thought, let me just check the macros on that.
Okay.
Quite high fat.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
with them being deep fried.
They're fried, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which it shocked me a lot.
Yeah.
Good bit of protein, but still. And that's one thing to say to somebody about snacks as well.
I guarantee it's on the packaging. High protein.
But yeah, I think if you can look at the macro profile, I think that's quite an interesting one. What's the protein carb fat ratio? Like if that was a pie chart, how would it look? And most snacks that you might gravitate to might be that combination of carbs and fats.
Yeah. One thing that I did want to kind of touch on with the snacks as well is if you are someone who tracks your foods and it's something you do regularly, then actually putting that snack into your MyFitnessPal before you consume it can be a great way of you making a decision before you consumed it. The amount of times I've had things, consumed them and gone, oh crap, now I've only got 300 calories from the evening meal. And if I'd just put it in beforehand, it would have stopped me. Again, I'm very much, I like to be told what to do. I like to have that accountability, and MyFitnessPal for me is, it stops me being that bottomless pit, which I absolutely am. So I think that's a great tip, just to be like, put it into your macros and calories first, make sure it fits, make sure you've got enough for your evening meal, and then make a decision on whether you want to have it or not.
That would definitely be my closing statement about planning in advance.
Yeah.
And actually, that's a great way of doing it. But even little things like, depending if your snacks are dry or not, just lay them out on the side. Maybe, especially if you work from home, and okay, that snack. If you like that sort of little quick fix, it saves you maybe being distracted. So having that like assembly line potentially, I've heard people do really well with that in the past.
That's a great idea. I've never heard that before. So you actually get out all the snacks for the day and say, that's what I'm going to have. I'm going to choose when to have them.
Yeah. And you've got the options then. I know you're a big fan of like Buffy style for meal prep and stuff, so that potentially could be.
What I was thinking then was, if I go downstairs in the morning and I see my morning snack, my evening snack, or my afternoon snack and my evening snack, I'm thinking, that ain't lasted. I'm having all of those. For me, again, just out of sight, out of mind. I know when my morning snacks are coming in, I know when my evening snacks are coming in. I don't want to see my afternoon snacks when I have my morning snack.
Yeah.
So, but I can definitely see why it could work for some people. In terms of planning and prepping, it's your cap. That's your cap. It's laid out there. Can't go any further than that.
When it's gone, it's gone. Yeah. And it's that personal understanding yourself. I think that's what we've gathered today. Understanding what your preferences are and being honest with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you want to add to the snacking?
Not from me. I think it's again just probably with kids snacks as well. Like I'm quite bad for picking and taste food.
It's great. I'm glad you touched on that actually. Yeah, because that's, as a parent, I mean, this is the Fit Dads podcast. We've got to factor in the kind of element of kids, and picking off like, a kid's meal can be a snack for us.
Yeah.
And the amount of times that I've had parents eating 200, 300, 400, 500 calories extra a day from just snacking on kids' food, you need to make that decision to be like, I can't have any food off the kids' plate. I know what everyone's going to say. I don't want to waste food. Nothing gets wasted. We can reuse it. Well, just put it into a Tupperware box for them tomorrow. It can make up another meal for them for sure. But you can't consume it because it's just extra calories that aren't necessary.
Yeah. My screening question with that is there protein I can eat from that? No lie. That's literally, there's a slice of ham there.
Well, it's funny because I had some quiche yesterday and it was cut up and it was the same thing, and I do love a quiche. Yeah. And there was that same moment away from my mind, like, oh, it's eggs, it's ham, it's protein. It's basically a protein shake.
Yeah, and again, just halting, just giving yourself that time to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Caught it there on the snacking episode.
I've got through everything I'd like to get through, Ryan. There's anything else from you?
No, I think that's it. Hopefully that's given you some ideas when it comes to snacking and barriers to preventing it, and hopefully understanding why we snack a little better, and some potential options for you guys choosing the right option for you, whether it is cutting out snacks altogether, whether it's choosing alternatives, or whether it is using those naughty snacks in quite a sparing way. Yeah. Guys, thank you for joining us for the Fit Dads podcast. I'll see you in the next one.
See you soon. Bye.